Good afternoon, everybody. This is your boy DCot from the Game Time Network with a special guest. Molly Blair's on with me today. We're going to talk a little bit about AFSP, the stigma of suicide, and how it has impacted many, including myself. So welcome to the show, Molly. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
Mhm.
As I said to you earlier, there's nothing off limits. If there's a challenge, I'll say it's a challenge, but I don't think so. I've got my tissues to the left of me here, so if they're needed, I'll use those as well.
Okay. At any point, if you want to pause or stop, that's totally fine too.
Sure.
So first, I'd like to start off for some demographic questions for my study, asking, what is your age?
I'm 58 years old as of June 26th, this past Friday.
Nice. Happy birthday. Happy late birthday. And then what is your gender identity?
I'm a male.
Okay. And so you get to pick a fake name for the study. I'm not using real names. For the sake of my other participants. And so, what would you like your fake name to be? Unless you'd like me to randomize, and I can
Yeah,
totally
just randomize.
randomize. I know that's like the hardest question I think for everybody is having to pick a fake name. So yeah, I will randomize that for you then. So please just to start, walk me through your lost story as much as you're comfortable sharing without graphic details, please.
Sure. I worked at another organization back during COVID. This was in 2021, and the individual came to me. I was the one of the senior leaders there, and we did office visits from time to time because many employees couldn't work from home. They had challenges at home, and so we had to social distance, and our office was big enough to social distance.
Mhm.
This young man came to me on I think it was a Monday or Tuesday midday and says, I've got some challenges, I've got some problems. I've been reading my Bible, I've been praying about it, but I can't get over having these thoughts, hurting myself. And I was taken aback by that because we were in COVID, and there was a lot of pain during COVID time in 2021 still. And I took it seriously because this person was an African American like me, and one of the stigmas for African Americans is, African American men, you don't talk about your weaknesses or your challenges. So I took it serious when he came to me about it. We sat down, we talked a little bit. I connected him with our benefits group. They put him in a situation where he had some counseling, some conversation with counseling, and it was great. I remember him coming to me and saying, "Hey, I think I'm going to be in a good situation. I think I'll be able to get help, and this is going to work for me." Fast forward, about 3 weeks later, we were going to be working on Memorial Weekend. It was going to be coming into the office on Saturday, and I remember that vividly. I said, "Well, if you all come in on Saturday, I'll bring donuts, juice, and that type of thing." That Saturday, everyone showed up with this person, so I was disappointed. But it happened from time to time with employees saying they would show up and they didn't. But in this case, I was concerned because of what our conversation took place previously, a few weeks prior.
Mhm.
Well, fast forward to Monday, I get a phone call from that person's family member stating, "I'm looking for this individual. I've been unable to find this individual, and have you heard from this person?" So, no, I just know that we were supposed to work on Saturday, and that person didn't show up. Okay. So, well, please do me a favor. If you hear from the individual, please let me know. Here's my cell phone number. Please call me and let me know if there's any challenges, that type of thing. Fast forward the next day, Tuesday, I get a phone call from a person telling me the person was found in a retention pond in the northern Indianapolis area in Noblesville. That hit me like a ton of bricks because I felt that the conversations myself and the individual had to that point were progress, and that we were kind of maybe got through the tough, challenging part, but we hadn't. Those demons were still there. Those challenges were still there. I just was not made aware of the intensity of those things. Fast forward and talking to that person's family member, spent time having a conversation with that family member, Upon going to the funeral, I found out that person, who happened to be a person's mother, was a instructor, teacher at my younger son's school. I hadn't saw in 10 plus years. And the challenge was, we started talking about my boys and my children, and it turned into a partnership, a friendship where we stick together now. We talk about twice a month. We message, we encourage each other. And that's what kind of created the dynamic when I connected with Kelsey and the AFSP group. I wanted to be able to do something more than just give someone a phone number to say, well, call this number and they can help you. So we started with the Walk Out of Darkness walks, donations. We did a food drive for the organization I worked at previously. We were able to get just under $13,000 in about a 5-month span, between food drives and donations and that type of thing. Is really working really well. And that impacted me, right? Because I saw giving from people who you didn't think would be so giving, right? What subsequent to that changed my life forever. Having someone, the last leadership person you talked to, it affected my life. It gave me a level of compassion that I thought I already had, but it just increased it. Looking at big picture things, and then realizing that not everybody's okay. There's a lot of silence involved there, right? So one of the things I would say is, not everybody's okay. So what I did at that organization, I created an award, a courage award in that person's name. And because that person had the courage to come to me as a black man, to a black man and say, I got a problem. And in our community, oftentimes that's looked at negatively, as you're weak. You pull yourself up by your bootstraps, tough it out, that type of thing, right? Mm-hmm. And I gave it that award, that the person who earned that award at our organization was someone who had courage, who stepped out on faith, and who shared things that maybe many people wouldn't share really well. And you start looking at things in a different light, in a different view when you see someone. If you see someone in tears, or you see someone just deep in thought. So that affected me, Molly, in a huge way, and it impacted my life from that point to now and continually. Myself, I've had that happen in my family. I've had my wife's nephew in the spring took his life. Military veteran, hearing voices, didn't have anyone that could talk to him and understand, because it's not cool to say you can't figure it out as a 25-year-old military veteran. You got to have it all figured out, right? Mm-hmm. And that's just not the case. And many times people aren't equipped to handle the challenges that people have, or to have that conversation. So oftentimes, we'll just deal with it. Just smile more, or think happy thoughts. I wish it was just that easy, but it's just not. Mm-hmm. So that's where I am now. And so I have my platform, which is the Game Time Network. Our network is a sports podcast. However, we look at big picture, and one of our big proponents is the American Suicide Prevention, and we have links on our page, and we also have the donation button as well. Yes, we want subscribers, but we don't make money off of this. We want subscribers to be educated, and not just with sports. We talk sports, yes, but also I have a spot called Cot's Corner, where I talk about life and those things and important things on a day-to-day basis. And if those that are watching or listening, please share and pay attention to the Game Time Network with the link of the AFSP, Marriage for Suicide Prevention, because it matters. If you're a person, excuse me, my nose is itching. If you're a person that has some challenges, those links are there for you. It's private. You don't have to say who you are and then give your blood types and all that stuff like that. It's just important to be able to have an avenue to be able to go and say, I need help, or I want to talk to someone. And the folks at AFSP are awesome, by the way. And yes, I'm biased, but I've seen their work in action. And so, Kelsey is a human machine, and And we were on the call about 30 minutes. It was about a couple of weeks ago, and we probably could have been on for 2 hours, catching up on old times, things like that. So, that's kind of my dynamic with what happened with the suicide piece there, with the employee, and then also with my wife's nephew.
Wow. Well, I'm sorry for your losses. Did you say your nephew was this spring?
Yes, it was this spring, yeah,
Wow.
2026.
Well, I'm really sorry for your loss, and I'm sorry to hear that it was that recent. Um, I'm sure he was a great man.
Trouble man, and that's okay to say that. It's not saying bad things about someone's not here. It's just a fact. And what it did, it enlightened family members understand it's a bigger picture than just think happy thoughts, smile a little more.
Right.
So that matters. And again, that burns, right? Because you want to be able to reach out and help someone in a way that they can be helped.
Right. Has your family been very supportive and accepting of the fact that it was a suicide loss, and that you got to support each other through that and talk about it?
Absolutely, you have to. If you don't talk about it, you become that again. And so those challenges that were out there with CJ were real, right? And if you, as a family member, aren't qualified or prepared to help in that case, find somebody that you think can, right?
Right.
It's not okay to just say, "Well, just feel better." That's not the answer. Depression is real. Isolation is real, and if you don't have someone that can get you out of that, collectively, bad things can and will happen.
Right. So you as an individual having to heal from those losses, what kind of things help you to heal from those? What kind of events, activities, conversations, what kind of things help you?
Well, for me, it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
You work to help others.
Mm-hmm.
You find a way to give of yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Along with that, though, you have your own individual, challenges as well, and you talk about those things to those loved ones, those people you care about, because you matter to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you just never know what you have to give if you don't give it. So one of the things my mom would say, you can't beat me giving, and you're not going to beat me giving. So, and I found that when someone sees that you are a giving soul, a giving person, we all have our flaws, but it's a real big deal when someone goes out of their way to give you something that they don't have to. So that's my way of coping, right? And doing what I can to help those who I think need help. And then maybe in those cases where someone you don't even realize, or they don't realize that they need help until it's too late at times. So you do what you can. You don't just say, "Well, call me if you need me." What you do, you call them because they may need you.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two big differences for me. You hear oftentimes, "Well, just call me if you need me." Sometimes it's not that easy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you're not the first to say that in my interviews, that we should be more proactive in supporting others rather than waiting for them to need us. It's not that easy to reach out and ask for help. Sometimes it's more easy to just accept it coming to you.
Correct.
So
100%.
I appreciate that statement. It's resonating with a lot of people.
Definitely, for sure.
So when it comes to your grief, like your reactions to these passings, your experiences, do you often talk about those, excluding medical professionals, of course, like therapists and counselors? Do you often talk about that with the people in your life? Sorry.
Well, it's important that you do, because that's the way it's an outlet. And as I said earlier, you don't know who you're helping. That conversation can be helping someone who has no idea that they're starting to fight depression and those challenges. So it's important to go to the highest mountain and share that information. It's not okay to keep it to yourself. share that with everyone that's in a earshot,
Mm-hmm.
or electronic, dynamic shot like this, that's going to go on the airwaves. There's no shame in saying I'm a 58-year-old black man who has some challenges with employees who took his life and family members. There's no shame in that. There's no embarrassment of that. It happened, and what can you do is be a better person and help those who need help.
Right. Right. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that kind of second stigma surrounding Black men's mental health?
For sure. Growing up as a black male in the city of Indianapolis, as in the 70s and 80s, you didn't ask for help. You weren't allowed to ask for help. Let's be honest. And I'm not gonna back in my day, but in those days you weren't allowed. You would just have to deal with it because there's some options that weren't available to African Americans. In that dynamic, so you had to kind of colonize. Said, you just do it myself. Well, what we found is you can't do it yourself because it's a stigma. When you see it, you see it on the news, you see it anywhere. I felt threatened by this black male. I mean, we're just having a regular conversation. What threatens you? I raised my voice. I don't have a weapon. I'm not angry. Where's the threat? Well, the threat is your skin and your skin color, and unfortunately, that skin tone comes with a threat, and which meant you have to kind of isolate because you're hulking African American male who doesn't need help. You're intimidating. How can you ask for help? You're intimidating me. You got a heavy voice. You're scaring me. All those things. Right? So as men, we talk about it on our show. Matter of fact, last Tuesday we have a 1-hour show. A friend and I, we talked about the stigma of African American men in today's society, where we don't ask for help until it's too late. So what we're trying to do is break that curse, break those chains of not being able to say, my name is insert name here, I need help. So that's what I mean by that. It's just in our culture, we acknowledge it, we're aware of it, but we can break that as well too.
Right. I ask because I'm sure that has a great impact on your grieving journey and your experience in having those losses of 2 Black men. I can imagine that would impact it a lot. And it's something, of course, that you said you're working to overcome and working to break in society, which is amazing work. And thank you for doing that.
Appreciate it, for sure. Again, you just want to be able to help people.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be able to help and support. And you've got people out there that are qualified to help, that they can give you some resources to help those as well too.
Right. Okay. So when you communicate about your grief, your loss, the people you have lost, do you often share the cause of death? Do you make sure that it's known that it was a suicide and put that out there?
Yeah, well, and it's important.
Mm-hmm.
Because it happened, right? You can't sugarcoat it. No, do you get into the specific and graphics of all? No, you not necessarily. However, death by suicide is one of the most rising ways of death in our country.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be spoken about.
Mm-hmm.
And if it happened, it happened, right? And what we've got to do is find a way to not have it happen again. Eradicate it, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Right. That was a great answer. It was beautifully said. We're not gonna make progress in preventing suicide if we're not talking about it and we're not pointing it out where it happens, and being respectful about it as well. Like you said, of not getting into the graphic details, but giving the person the respect by sharing their story in an appropriate way.
100%, for sure.
Mm-hmm. So when you do end up telling these people, you know, my nephew or my employee died by suicide, how do you perceive others' general reactions, and do they stick with you at all?
Well, immediate sadness, right? The sadness comes up. I'm sorry for your loss. And one of the things I say is, well, I appreciate that. What can we do? What can we do, right? And I'm going to be putting a lot of pressure on a lot of people who be watching this video to do something, right?
Right.
And that's going to be where I stand on it, right? So I've had nobody say to me, "Oh, you're wasting your time." If they did, I know who they are, and I won't be having those conversations with those people. But no one said that to me. But internally, you get a feel for who's all in and who's not.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, that makes sense to me. All in terms of like being supportive and accepting of a suicide loss.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay, understood. So, would you say you feel no barriers to sharing then the full extent of your person's story?
Well, for myself, no. What I would do is this: I haven't given any specific details
Mhm.
because out of respect for the family.
Sure. Yeah.
If someone was to say or speak to it, I would rather it be the family.
Mhm.
But enough to be said about a person who meant a lot to a lot of people uh, in his life, and it meant a lot to me. I met that person April 5th. I'm taking that back. That person got hired on April 5th. The first start date was April 5th, but we had an interview back in probably mid-March when we got that person on. It was a video interview because we did video interviews back during COVID. We didn't have in-person interviews.
Mhm.
And from middle March to the end of May, I felt like I grown to know that person, especially finding out who that person's parent was and is. I
Mhm.
feel like that person was someone that I think about, that someone who I would spend a lot of time with, personal time with, because of the care and concern, and also the upbringing that person received. It wasn't the parents' fault. I spoke to both parents, and I gave them my understanding of their son and the challenges. And I said, I want to be clear on something. Yes, I knew him for a short time. There's never any level of disrespect and disingenuous behavior in any way, and that's important. And I know that that person's father was really happy about this. So I want to make sure that I brought my son up the right way and how to handle himself in a way of respect and dignity. And I said to him, with tears in my eyes, you did not fail.
Mm-mm. It's so easy to, as a suicide loss survivor, apply some sort of like blame, guilt, and self failure to yourself, and that's never a good.
Well, let me share this. Oh,
Yeah.
I had some guilt. I
Sure.
had some guilt, and I still have some of it today,
Yeah.
because I think to myself, what else could I have done? Right? This was Memorial Day weekend. I'm sure I had a cookout that weekend, because Memorial Weekend I always have cookouts.
Mhm.
Maybe I should have invited him. Maybe on that Saturday, I should have called early in that day when I saw that he wasn't going to be at work. Maybe I could have called his phone early on, right? Maybe I could have done this. Maybe these things, right? And
Mhm.
that's the challenge, because those things will haunt you, right? They
Right.
will haunt you. But one of the things that happened, his mom, made me understand, you know, you did your best with what you had, and that felt good. It felt good. Don't get me wrong, it felt good, but it still were times should have, would have, could have, right?
Always.
And in this case, I'm better. It's been 5+ years now, and
Right.
I'm better, but I'm not whole, right? And I promised myself that the situation came up again, that person would get tired of talking to me, because I make sure that I'm doing everything I can to keep those thoughts out of their head as possible.
Understood. I get you. I am myself a suicide loss survivor. I lost my best friend 2 years ago. So I understand that thought process of always wondering, well, if I had been reaching out more, if I had, called more that week, or if I had stopped by a couple more times, what could have happened? But it just eats at you, and it's not a healthy thought to keep around. It's not something that you can force away, and it's not something that you can stop yourself from doing sometimes, but it's not healthy.
Absolutely, 100%.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a tough balance to find because of course you want to allow yourself to think about it and feel the feelings that you're supposed to be feeling, or allow yourself to feel what's happening, but you got to strike the balance between what's a healthy amount of rumination and what's not.
Correct, 100%.
Hmm. Um, when you've talked about your losses, has there ever been a time where you felt any like tension or nervousness or awkwardness when bringing it up?
No,
Mm.
no, not at all. Because I have a responsibility to
Mhm.
share unequivocally what I can, and to not have reservations on the stigma. Right? Talk about the stigma, right?
Mhm.
Stigma doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You've got to press on.
Gotta press on. That's a good thing. I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear that. I really am. So what do you think created that like responsibility that you feel to share?
You want to help somebody. That's what. For me, after the shock and pain and all those things, listen, I got to figure something out. Can't, I've got other employees that are struggling as well too. And thank goodness that I didn't have that secondary conversation.
Mhm. Well, again, that's good to hear. I am finding through these interviews that a lot of people following their loss feel compelled to be of service to others and be a helping hand in the community. And I think it's a beautiful thing that people are able to turn something so dark in their lives into meaningful work. So,
Absolutely, 100%. And again, it's you have these things to say, okay, this happened, and all of a sudden, I'll give you an example like 9/11. When 9/11 hit,
mhm.
everybody galvanized, and close. You saw the American flags. You saw people holding doors for you. You saw, if you're in a turning situation, the person says, "Go ahead and go," go ahead and that type of thing. And then it kind of wore off. Right? This isn't going to wear off for me. It is ingrained in my mind, my body, and my soul to
Mhm.
be of service to others. No one's going to stop that. And if there's someone that wants me to stop doing that, I probably would distance myself from that person.
Yeah.
So that's not going to stop.
Yeah. That's a good thing to hear. It really is. And I think a lot of people are in the same boat as you. And if my advocacy is a problem, then it seems like this is not going to continue to work for us.
Exactly. 100%. Yeah.
Right. That makes sense. So you are very open to addressing any negative attitudes about suicide as they come up in conversation, you'd say?
Yeah. I would be clear, Molly. I don't run from anything, right? And if it needs to be addressed, I'm one of those people that will address
That's good to hear. That's good to hear.
it.
I
And it's not
appreciate.
a debate, by the way. It's not a debate. It's not a. It's not a debate. And if you're not understanding the stigma, the pain of suicide, and you're trying to convince me of otherwise, we're not going to have a conversation. It's not a debate.
I agree. I agree. I wish everybody felt that way. It's we need to have some more kindness and positivity regarding those who have been lost to suicide. It's
Absolutely.
they deserve the utmost respect after passing. And I think everybody should be feeling that way that you're feeling.
100%, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, this question might not apply, so I'm going to move to the next one. So, have you ever been confronted with a stigma? Like, do you have a specific example in mind that you can think of?
Of suicide or?
Mm-hmm. Or in your experience of being a Black male with experience in advocating for mental health?
To be quite honest, no.
That's a
I'll
good.
allow those thoughts to penetrate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are there times where I struggle? Absolutely. But I leverage those who I can trust and I can believe in, and people that understand. So, yeah, I haven't been hit with a stigma that impacted me in a negative way.
Well, that's a good thing. That is a great thing to hear.
Now, mind you, I'm aware of those things. I'm aware of it affecting others. Absolutely, 100%.
Right. Mm-hmm.
With that said, I have to understand. We're here for a purpose. Right? And that employee not being here told me, in part of why I'm here.
And that's so good to hear. Again, with turning something dark into something meaningful in life is so beautiful. So I'm so glad to hear that from you.
Definitely.
Okay. Is there any other memorable things you would like to bring up or anything you'd like to revisit, elaborate further upon? Any closing thoughts for this interview?
Yeah. Do what you can for the other person. Really that simple. We oftentimes we make life and these sayings so difficult and creative and all of that. Do your best with what you have. How about that?
There you go. Yeah. Simple and effective. Do your best with what you have. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being willing to help me data gathering for my thesis. It means the world to me.
Well, you're welcome for sure. Definitely appreciate you having on. And again, it's okay to talk about it. It really is.
It is. It is. I'm hoping that doing this type of research will help to kind of end that stigma and realize that it is okay to talk about it and that loss survivors are here to talk about it and to not shy away from loss survivors, that we're ready to talk, we're ready to be heard, and we're ready to share our people's stories.
For sure, 100%. Again, if there's anything else that you need, don't hesitate to reach out. You've got my info, my contact info, and I'm always willing to support and help.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot, Molly. You take care of yourself.